And the Bucs hope that this will be their first victory ever.
We have a great area, growing area, in Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Sarasota, Bradenton, Lakeland, and Winter Haven, and even Wauchula. Over 2 million fans, and it's the fastest growing area in the United States.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, live from Tampa Stadium. For the first time ever in a regular season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers enter the stadium with numbers in both the win and loss columns. The Buccaneers came onto the field to a wild standing ovation from the some 60,000-plus fans at Tampa Stadium. They did not introduce any players individually. The PA announcer said, "Ladies and gentlemen, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers."
Welcome to San Diego, California. Super Bowl 37. It is Tampa Bay versus the Oakland Raiders.
Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Throws up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, baby! Boom, boom, boom! Yeah! Tom Brady signing with the Tampa Bay Bucs tomorrow. Holy hell. Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to be a tough team to stop, I think, at this point.
He said, you know what ring is my favorite one? My favorite ring is the next one. Everyone always says, why the Bucs, man? Why'd you choose the Bucs? And it was a no-brainer.
Brady has all kinds of time, throws toward the end zone. It is a caught ball. Touchdown, Tampa Bay, Mike Evans. 8 seconds, 7 seconds. Brady to throw, throws a deep pass downfield. Got Scotty Miller in the open. Makes the catch. Touchdown, Tampa Bay.
Here's the snap out of the gun. Play action fake pass to Gronkowski. He's going to score a touchdown. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Holy guacamole. And the Buccaneer Nation will celebrate. And I want to hear cannons.
We do.
I want to hear cannons.
For sure.
And I think we are going to hear cannons. If I got to do the boom, boom, boom myself. Bucs win. Bucs win. Bucs win the Super Bowl 55. Tom Brady engineers the offense. The Buccaneers score late in the first half, early in the second half. And there the cannons come. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them. How about the Buccaneers, huh?
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty. Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
I want to hear cannons.
We do.
I want to hear cannons. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast, live today on YouTube for episode 213. Really quickly, as like a little disclaimer here, I introed the last episode as 213. This is the real 213. The last one was 212. And honestly, after, 200 some odd episodes, I'm surprised this moment didn't come any sooner. But I went back, checked my notes, and I had basically taken notes for an episode that we never did. So I kind of had my numbers mixed up. But yes, this right here that you are listening to is episode 213 of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew, joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. God, it feels like I haven't talked to you on this podcast in 3 weeks. What's going on, my man?
I know it. It's been a while, right?
Took a little vacation, spent some time in Florida, I see.
I did. I got some sun. It was hot.
Didn't get tan at all.
No, that's not what happens to me. When I get sunburn, I burn and then it just goes away. It doesn't turn into tan at all. That's not possible for me.
Well, it was pretty cool. While we weren't doing a podcast, we both were in attendance for the Bucs playing the Dolphins when they absolutely just mollywopped them, and we got to meet up briefly after the game, take a few pictures. We showed face. But it's always cool seeing you in person, man. And I'm looking forward to it again for the watch party coming up, which at this rate, man, we are less than, tomorrow will be exactly a month away from the Cannon Fire watch party, Bucs in Washington. It should be a good one.
Time's flying. It's time to get rolling, and excited. It's hard to believe that it's like a month, right? Like we were talking about this in August. We were like, okay, yeah, we can schedule for that, and it's just so long away. And then, like, boom! Before we know it, it'll be here. I mean, we're already. This is the 6th game coming up. So, season's going by fast.
That's the crazy part. Is like we're a month away from the watch party, but we're over a month into this football season. I remember how bad we all longed for NFL football, and here we are. The Buccaneers currently 4-1 as they head into Week 6. They'll kick things off for the NFL Thursday night, Lincoln Financial Field against the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of history between these two teams, and a little bit of trivia for those that don't know. The Buccaneers actually shut down Veterans Stadium. Most people know that, right? The Rondé Barber pick six, very iconic to send Tampa Bay to their first Super Bowl. But they actually opened up the Lincoln as well. They kicked Philly's ass when they opened up this stadium. I think it was the first game played in the new stadium. So basically, the Bucs run Philly, and I don't expect very much to change this Thursday night.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny how they closed Veterans Stadium and then they opened up Lincoln Financial Field with 2 W's, right?
Yeah,
it was, I remember they had Rocky. They had Rocky because it was the opening for the season, because that was the only time a Super Bowl champion did not open the season at home. And they opened it for the season. They opened with Rocky there, and the Bucs ended up beating them. So yeah, it's and also the last time the Bucs played in Philly was a blowout in 2015. I was there actually. So that was the last time the Bucs even played in Philly. So the Bucs have a pretty good history in this city of Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, man. Plenty of great moments. I mean, it hasn't been as heated these past few years just because those teams don't seem to play each other that much anymore. Like the last time they played was Fitzmagic, right? When the Eagles had just won the Super Bowl, and then
2018.
Right. So this will be their first meeting since then, but definitely a lot of history between these two teams. Before we break the game down, I want to go over some of the latest news out of One Buck. We also have an email we're going to read. It is not the mailbag show because it's a short week, but we still have emails. And if you want your take read, send us an email, cannonfirepodcast@gmail.com. It is open 24/7. So let's go ahead and talk about who's going to be in and out for Thursday night's contest against those dirty birds. Levante David. We talked about the post-game show last week, how his status was definitely going to be up in the air. He was down on the ground for an extended period of time in that game, didn't return. He has been ruled out for this game with an ankle injury. He did not practice today, and it wasn't very intensive practice this week, might I add. It was mostly walkthroughs, so the guys who aren't practicing, you kind of know the writing was on the wall there. But Bucs will be without Levante David. And I'll be honest, I cannot remember the last time this defense had to go out there without number 54. Like, Levante is a guy who, as physical of a player as we know he is, he really doesn't have that much of a problem with injuries. So hopefully this is, the only game he misses. At the very least, or at the very most, he misses 2. But it does seem like he's going to dodge some time on the IR, but he's definitely out this week.
Yeah, so the last time he missed a game was 2018. He missed 2 games. So this is the first time that Todd Bowles will be game planning for a offense without Levante David in the fold. So it'll be interesting to see what his game plan will be. Yeah, and you're right. I would say at most 2. Maybe 3, depending on, because you never know with injuries, right? One day he could have a setback, and then all of a sudden you're talking about maybe a few more weeks. But they didn't place him on IR when they could have. which signals to me that they're hopeful that they can get him back within a 3-week span. The same thing with Gronkowski, who obviously in the chat, they said that Gronk's not playing either. Yes, the Bucs were hopeful that he'd be able to play, which is why they didn't put him on IR after week 3. So, unfortunately, I think if this game was on Sunday, I think Gronkowski would have had a chance to play. Yeah. But just the fact that it's a short week, I just think that it probably could. If it's a playoff game, he probably plays. But you don't want to risk long term, and then he goes out there and hurts something else, and then he's out for the season, and you're screwed.
Oh yeah, 100%. While a lot of people aren't going to be super excited about it, I do think it's the right move. We actually had, I think it was either a phone call or somebody in the live chat Sunday after the game. We talked about, Gronk hopefully being able to come back this week, because everything that you've heard from Bruce Arians regarding Levante David and even Gronk is that, these guys might miss some time, but they're not going to be on IR. They should be back soon. But I think it's the right move to rest Gronk this week. Clearly, this offense doesn't really need him that badly with what they were able to do last week. So I don't know how big of a loss it is for Tampa Bay. Now, in the end zone, obviously, not having Gronk out there is a huge loss for any team in the NFL. But with the weapons that we know Tom Brady has on this offense, I'm not entirely worried about it. Let him rest up. Let him get healthy. He's a veteran at this point, and we know that he has struggled with injuries before. With this football team at 4-1, headed into Thursday Night Football playing against the Eagles, this isn't really a game where I'm going to force Gronk to get out there if he's not entirely ready, right? So, Rob Gronkowski ruled out for this game as well. And the last guy ruled out that we know of is safety Antoine Winfield Jr., who did not clear concussion protocol, did not practice this week. He is out for this game. So, still kind of a hole in that secondary.
Yeah, and there's another thing. I really think if this game was on Sunday, he would have played. Just the concussion protocol just couldn't pass it in time. So it's an unfortunate break for the Bucs that this game was a short week. I think if it's Sunday and then you have the 3 extra days basically to pass the protocol, I think you would have been able to. But yeah, unfortunately, you'll be out. I mean, as long as his concussion is not too serious, he should be 100% good to go for the Chicago game.
Yeah, and luckily for the guys who are missing this week, it's almost like they have an extra week just because the Bucs don't play this weekend. You got a whole week and a half until you have to worry about getting back in shape and really getting back out there. So I think 2 out of 3 of the guys on that list should definitely be good to go for the next game, which is Chicago, right? If I'm not mistaken, they're back at home playing the Bears.
Correct.
Yep. So taking a look at the rest of the injury report, a couple of names on here that are kind of surprising. One of them is center Ryan Jensen with a hip injury. He was full participation at practice, but he is ruled questionable for this game. I think Big Red's going to play, but it is pretty interesting to note because he didn't play every single snap against the Dolphins, and that's something that I did not notice when I was out there watching the game. So, do you think this hinders him at all? Is it something we should be worried about? Because if anything, we know that Ryan Jensen's probably one of the toughest SOBs on this team.
Yeah, whenever you pop up on the injury report, there's obviously cause for concern, but should be okay. He seemed to be okay. So they didn't seem to be too worried about it, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it.
For sure. Along the defensive line, taking a look at the other side of the ball, Pat O'Connor with a calf injury. He was full participation, listed as questionable. He's probably going to play. Outside linebacker Jason Pierre-Paul with a shoulder/hand injury was full participation. He is listed as questionable. Now, the thing with JPP, here's where it gets interesting. And actually, we're going to go ahead and get to our email here in a second. But with JPP, he's got 2 injuries right now. He's got that shoulder injury that's been nagging him the first quarter of this season. And then he's also got, did he straight up break a finger is what I heard? Like he's back wearing the mitt. So he's got the, the big mandible claw. So, but that's not going to slow him down from getting the quarterbacks.
I think something like that. It's I don't remember the exact thing. He said it in his press conference the other day, and I don't remember. And I should have had it here, but I don't. But yeah, it is something with his hand. He broke something. He's just trying to battle through it right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. But we do have an interesting take on Jason Pierre-Paul, and I want to hear from the chat on this one too. Mr. Bucs Nation is also here, your favorite. Just checking on the live chat really quickly. One of our moderators holding it down. But this is a pretty interesting take on JPP, and it comes from Emily Compa, who sends us in an email. She says, JPP is the motivational factor in this defense. The guy is always prepping and spouting his words of encouragement and X factors to his fellow teammates. But with his injuries so far this year, and not to mention that giant club on his hand, how is he supposed to live up to his incredible reputation on the field? We now have Joe Tryon, and he seems to be progressing with every game he plays. It is a sight to behold when we have all three of them, JPP, Shaq Barrett, and JTS, out there on the field at once. But should we be playing JTS more and allow JPP a full recovery phase, or just keep putting JPP out there not at 100%? Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge JPP fan, but don't you think the team could use those 2 extra fingers? From Emily Compa. Thanks for your email. We truly appreciate it. So this is an interesting take because people have brought this up. We have seen Joe Tryon show up for sure, right? He got an increased role against the Patriots. He went out there, got 2 sacks. He didn't register a sack last week, but getting more exposure along that defensive line is always going to be a good thing for your first round draft pick. But at this point in the season, Evan, is it time to, let Tryon kind of not take over the majority of the snaps, but at least pull JPP back a little bit? And I know I just asked you a question. I'm going to answer it really quick, and then I'll toss it over to you. Personally, I think this is like a JPP thing, like a JPP mentality thing, because I'm sure the coaches can tell him that they plan on taking him off the field a little bit more, but that's not going to happen, right? JPP is going to play as much as he possibly can. This is a guy who does not slow down. So I mean, I'm curious to hear your take, because I'm sure a lot of people have some strong feelings about this one.
Yeah, I do think that it should be time for that to happen. I just think that Jason Pierre-Paul right now, it needs to be focused on just getting better, and he wasn't great on Sunday. I think there's somebody brought up in the chat, he missed a few sacks because he couldn't wrap it up. He couldn't wrap up the quarterback because of the club. That definitely affects things. Obviously Joe Tronchoinka flashed in New England, and I think he should have had a sack actually in Miami versus Miami too. But I think
he barely missed that tackle, if I remember right.
I think he deserves more. I definitely think he deserves more snaps, and I think eventually he will get them. I really do. I think he will end up getting more snaps. It's just a matter of being able to with a rookie, everybody is going to be a little bit cautious of giving him the reins. And I'm not saying give him the reins. I'm not saying he needs to be the starter, and play all the snaps.
No, but the more involvement, the better.
Yeah, and also Jason Pierre-Paul, do you really need him playing at 70% right now? Why can't you wait until he's 90%? Why do you have to throw him in there when he's not even 100% healthy? And it's clearly showing. So I know Jason Pierre-Paul, it's probably his decision. I know he's not going to want to miss games, but at the same time, man, I think their best bet might be to play Joe Tronchoinka a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I think so too. But thank you again for your email, Emily. We truly do appreciate it. And if you guys have takes in the live chat, we would love to hear them. We'll talk about that throughout the course of the show. Let's wrap up the injury report here. Running back Gio Bernard was up there with a knee and chest injury. He was full participation at practice. He's probably going to play. Quarterback Tom Brady with a right thumb injury. Oh my goodness. Full participation for TB12. And come on, dude. A little thumb injury isn't going to slow him down.
It's Blaine Gabbert time.
Oh, yeah, right? Yeah.
It is.
This isn't even a discussion we need to have. We talked about the Tom Brady thumb injury. He came out and said, really, it's nothing. He was a little transparent, though. I don't know if you saw his press conference. Somebody called in last week and let me know about it, but he has been a lot more transparent about what's been going on with him. And then he even said in one of his press conferences, he's like, I'm allowed to be more transparent like this because I just don't really care anymore.
There you go.
But yeah, TB12 should be good to go. I have no doubts that Brady's going to be out there, and that's the end of that discussion. Wide receiver Antonio Brown with a knee injury was full participation. He'll be good to go. Cornerback Jamel Dean, also with a knee injury, was full participation. He should play. Chris Godwin popped up, knee and ankle injury, full participation at practice. And the final person on the injury report for Tampa Bay is kicker Ryan Suckup with a back injury. Probably from putting the team on his back.
He's carrying them, so that's why.
Put the team on his back. Full participation for Suck, and he should be good to go
for Suck. I never heard that one before. Where did that come from?
Oh man, it's my new nickname for him. You know, you got
Suck.
Zuckerberg, Zuck. Just call him Suck.
There you go.
You don't like it? I don't know. It'll stick. The
I
more
know.
I say, it'll stick. Let's take a look at Philly's injury report. Here is a big loss for them already on the offensive line. Offensive tackle Lane Johnson, not injury related. It was a personal matter, but he has been ruled out. He did not practice, and he will not play Thursday night. So that is a big loss along that offensive line. We'll talk about it more a little later when we go into depth about, defense versus offense and all of that good stuff in the game preview that you guys are used to. But taking a look at the rest of their injury report, defensive end Derek Barnett with an ankle injury was full participation. Offensive guard Landon Dickerson popped up with an ankle injury. He was full participation at practice. Tight end Dallas Goddard. Yeah, okay. With an illness, did not practice, but I feel like he'll probably end up playing. Center Jason Kelsey also popped up with a foot/rest day. He was full participation at practice, though, so he should be fine. And then offensive tackle Jordan Mailata. I think I said that correctly. With a knee injury. Oh, okay. Yeah. Full participation, so he should play. There is your injury report. The Buccaneers down a couple of guys, and the Eagles missing one of their best offensive linemen. Let's go ahead and get into this game breakdown. So what side of the football do you want to talk about first when it comes to Tampa Bay? You want to look at the offense or the defense?
Let's look at the defense for a minute. Real quick, TB12 Goatman says, "What's the weather out that way? Hope no rain." I don't think it's supposed to rain tomorrow. So, yeah, if you guys don't know, I'm literally like in the area.
Well,
so.
he's a meteorologist, so you can.
Yeah, basically. So,
let's cut to Evan with the weather. Yeah,
so,
I don't think it should rain.
As you can see here, there's a late chance of precipitation on. I don't think it's supposed to rain. It's actually supposed to be quite nice. Actually, it's supposed to be like I think high 50s, low 60s when the game's going on. So,
you're not going to be there, are you?
No.
Oh man. Okay. All right. Nope. I remember like at one time you had talked about it maybe being a possibility, but I don't think I ever followed up.
Yeah, no, just not. Like you said, it's not. The tickets are so expensive, and it's a prime time game. It's just and then we were like we're just at a game that'd be the very next week on a short week, and just yeah.
No, I get it, man. But taking a look at how this defense matches up with Philly, the first thing that I think a lot of people are going to look at is this pass rush. We've talked about the development of this pass rush. It seems like they've woken up over these past few weeks, so that's a good sign. But with Lane Johnson already going to be missing this game for Philly, it's another one of those weeks where it's like, I know Jalen Hurts is one of those guys who's going to be hard to actually get down once you get pressure in the pocket, but there's no reason they shouldn't be in his face for most of the game, right? Can we agree here?
Yeah. I mean, the Eagles have done a pretty good job. Last week, they did a good job of protecting him. They've dealt Lane Johnson. This is his third game being out. So this isn't going to be, like a first time thing. And actually 3 of their starting 5 offensive linemen who they started the season with are actually out. So they've all been acclimated. They've all been playing, so we'll see how the Bucs defensive line responds. I hope it's good, especially without like Levante David, who's one of the most effective blitzers. I'm not sure how much you're actually going to blitz, so you might need to get home with 4. And especially if you blitz and you miss, Jalen Hurts can break outside, and that could lead to a big gain. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that. You don't want him to break one and contain that quick. So I think a lot of it is going to have to come down to the defensive line getting pressure with 4 against the Eagles offensive line, who, their injuries, they've really been able to overcome them a little bit by the scheming and how quick they get the ball out of Hurts' hands. But at the same time, like the Bucs defensive line is more talented. So,
yeah. Well, I think, a couple of people brought it up in the chat, but you made a good point. It seems like a dangerous week to blitz. Not only are you missing Levante David, but you've got a quarterback who not only can tear you up in the short pass game, which we have seen happen to this defense time and time again, but he can just make you pay. We've seen it happen with this team plenty of times. So I don't know how blitz heavy they're going to be this week. Somebody brought it up in the chat. Brady is Mahomes' daddy, one of the best screen names I have seen in quite some time. He asked the question, should they play kind of like they did against Pat Mahomes? Don't blitz a lot. Just kind of wait for things to come to you. Keep everything in front of you. Because if you blitz, you're going to get punked on the short game, or you can just leave somebody wide ass open down the field 30 yards, because we see that happen all the time. So, what do you think the defensive approach should be this week? Is it, balanced a little bit more than we usually see it?
It's tough because, the Eagles are going to come out and they're going to do the same exact thing that every offense has been doing to the Bucs, which is just pass. The only difference is that the Eagles in their previous 5 games, that's literally all they've done. I've talked to so many, family members of mine, or most of my family are Eagles fans. And I talk to them, and they talk about they don't run the ball. They literally have just not run the ball a lot. They've been throwing the ball a ton. So that's not going to change. That game plan for the Eagles is, I would expect, I don't even know if they're going to run the ball 5 times this week. I mean, that is, I think that might be a little high.
Even the teams who do try to run the ball with a proficient running back never have that much success against Tampa Bay. I mean, week 1, it's a lot different to talk about because it is week 1 football, but the Cowboys had Zeke, and he ran the ball, 7 times that entire game? So it's, even if the team is going to try and run against Tampa Bay, it's not going to last that long.
No, I mean, that's not. I obviously they really shouldn't, right? I mean, that's obvious. But it's tough because of Hurts being able to scramble and escape the pocket of what you can do, because you have to be careful with some things, right? They haven't really faced this kind of quarterback yet this season. I mean, look at the quarterbacks they've played. None of those guys can really scramble like Jalen Hurts can. Mm-hmm. None of those guys are known for wanting to willingly run. So it's going to be a challenge, I think. And typically the Bucs don't do well against mobile quarterbacks. They really get faked out by the read options and the zone reads.
Oh yeah, the RPOs just tear us up every single time.
And I mean, and the Eagles do that a lot. So I think this is a tough matchup. What's Nick Sirianni, Eagles head coach, has done is he's done a lot of screens, because the receivers are really twitchy. All right, they're not. I wouldn't call them fast. There's one guy who's really fast, Quez Watkins, but Devonta Smith and Jalen Reagor are more twitchy type guys. They like to get the ball to them out in space, and they like to get them to miss tackles. Mm-hmm. Well, the Bucs defense, especially last week, has been terrible, and they haven't gotten anything going there. It was shocking how bad they were at tackling.
Yeah, that was, that's going to be on my checklist at the end of the show, but that's something else I wanted to really try and hammer down this week, is that I don't know what has to happen. I mean, obviously practice is over. The team, I believe, is already in Philly, if not on the plane now as we speak. But tackling has to improve, especially with a guy like Jalen Hurts, because if you bring pressure in the pocket, you can close that pocket as much as you want, but if you cannot tackle him, he's not going to go down. And the same can be said with a lot of those receivers you had just mentioned. So if there is one thing that, alongside the pass rush that needs to show up, just fundamental tackling this week has to be a priority. You're missing Levante David on defense, who is the best tackler on the defense. So other guys are going to have to step up. Devin White is going to have a lot of eyes on him if he's going to be blitzing. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be looking at what he's able to do, since he's going to step up a little bit more in that linebacker role. But he's going to have to bring his A game. He's had a quiet season so far, and this defense as a whole, there's certain things that are still getting worked on. And the post-game show after Miami, I was praising the pass rush, because I have been impressed with how they can actually produce sacks now, right? Couple of turnovers every now and again. It's nice to see. The wheels are rolling. It's week 6. There really isn't that much more time for people to say, oh, well, it's early in the season. These guys are still figuring it out. No, you got to figure it out. And tackling this week is the one thing that they got to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the one speed guy I would say is Quez Watkins, and then the other two are twitchy guys that can get behind the defense. They don't like to keep the ball in Hurts' hands a lot, especially with a banged up, not secondary, especially with the Bucs have a banged up secondary, that's for sure. But especially with a banged up offensive line, they're not going to want to have Hurts hold that football, so they're going to want to get out of his hands quick. And I think it's a tough matchup for the Bucs. I really do. This is gonna be out of like this stretch after LA when you had New England, Miami, Philly, Chicago. This is easily, I think, the toughest matchup. I just think it's a tough matchup for them, and we'll see how they respond to it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other side of the football here for the Bucs on offense. I feel like it should be business as usual, right? There's a couple of pieces on this Eagles defense that you have to look out for, but nothing I don't think TB12 and company can handle.
Yeah. One more thing I did want to say about the Bucs defense. Shaq Barrett has 2.5 sacks in the last 2 games, 1 forced fumble.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts has 4 fumbles so far on the season. So in 5 games, he has 4 fumbles. Just something to look out for. Yeah, but as far as on the switching over to the offense, the biggest key has got to be protecting Tom Brady up the middle. The Eagles pass rushing on the edges hasn't been great. Derek Barnett and Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat's been good. Derek Barnett's been up and down really for him his entire career. But Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox have been just unstoppable, especially Javon Hargrave. Javon Hargrave, without him, that defense would be lost. He has 6 sacks already on the season. And he's an interior defensive lineman. He is not an edge rusher.
That's definitely saying something.
He's been awesome. But with every defense, there's a weakness. And I think the Eagles linebacking core might be one of the worst in the NFL. So that's where I think the Bucs have to really, have to look out and try and target that. Try and target with the tight ends, with O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate. Try and get wide receivers matched up. Try to get a guy like Gio Bernard matched up on a linebacker and try to exploit that. The Eagles do play a lot of zone coverage. It's not going to be a lot of man. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see how the Eagles want to play it. Like I said, they're not going to blitz a ton, and they're also not going to play a ton of man coverage. So we'll see, how they respond. It'll be interesting to see the game plan, because I think the Eagles actually aren't half bad at defending the pass. Like they're not that bad. I think they're 17th or something, or something like that. But I believe they're 31st at defending the run. So they have been terrible at defending the run. And that might be something the Bucs look to do, especially if the Bucs defense is if they're going to struggle, like I think they might, you'd want to control the clock. So what better way to control the clock than be able to hand off to Lenny, who's been playing well. So, I think that's a big key. Trying to remain as balanced as possible also opens up the play action for you. But, the Bucs have basically 3 number 1 wide receivers, and no team in the NFL has 3 number 1 corners. So you're going to get a mismatch on the corner. They're going to be able to exploit some zones, and hopefully they're able to do enough to win the football game. But the Eagles have some players on defense that they do, but I just don't know if they have enough players on defense.
Oh yeah, 100%. Going back to, the pressure up the middle for Philly, it's also going to be interesting to watch that matchup throughout the afternoon, because we already talked about Ryan Jensen, who popped up on the injury report this week. Again, I think Big Red's probably the toughest guy on this team. During the, was it the playoff game against the Saints? Do you remember when he did something to his arm and then they tried to pull him out of the game, and then he went back into the game and finished the game without a problem? His face was as red as our logo, but he went out there. You're
talking about Jensen?
Yeah. Was it the Saints?
I do remember that.
I don't remember what game it was. If somebody in the chat knows, but in 2020, he basically
Was it 2020?
Yeah. It was
okay, it was 2020. It was definitely 2020. Okay. I don't think it was any of the Saints games then, but I do remember. I do know what you're talking about. Yeah. I remember what you're talking. I remember his face. Yeah,
you could hear him. You could hear him on the broadcast, just screaming. I don't know what he did. I don't know if he had to pop something back into place or he just had to play through it. But,
I feel like it was. If anybody, I feel like it was on the road.
Oh,
I
it
feel
was
like it was
definitely
a
on the
road
road
game.
No, I think it was a road game. That's why I wanted to say it was in New Orleans.
They were wearing white jerseys, so yeah, it was on the road for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know,
but
if anybody in the chat knows what game that was, let us know.
Yeah, but yeah, just another interesting thing to keep an eye on. As far as the running game goes, I do want to give some praise to Leonard Fournette. Not that we haven't done that enough recently, but I wouldn't mind if this was a big running day for Tampa Bay. I'd love for one of these running backs. I don't even care who it is at this point. It could be Gio Bernard for all I care, but I'd love to get like 100-yard rushing game, right? Tom Brady throws 2 touchdowns, no picks, 200 something yards, only maybe 30 something attempts, and then you get your back kind of carrying the load, consistent first downs, 4, 5, 6 yard gains, and control the clock. Just like you brought up with the possibility of this Bucs offense not matching up too well, that could be an option because Philly does not have that good of a run defense. But I wouldn't mind if the game went in that direction, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could. I think you could see it. I really do. Like I said, I do think. Go ahead.
I want to get your thoughts really quickly before we move on here.
Hang on. Tall FL guy says, I predict OJ will have a big game. Apparently, I heard the Eagles linebackers are not good. Well, you heard it from me like 2 minutes ago. So,
yeah, man, some guy told me the Eagles linebackers weren't too good. But I want to get your take on Ronald Jones right now, because this was something we talked about on the post-game show last week with Leonard Fournette having another great showing and Rojo just kind of, not really showing up the way a lot of people would have hoped. Leonard Fournette taking this running back one job and literally running with it, pun intended. But what's your take on Rojo? At this point, does he have to play amazing down the stretch to even be here next year?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I was shocked that he got a screenplay called for him on Sunday.
Yeah,
I was shocked.
He did. He picked up, I think, damn near 20
yards. He picked up the first down.
Yeah, sure
he picked up the first down.
Didn't run out of bounds early.
No, not this time. I just don't. I don't see it. Until Lenny messes up, which like right now he's on like a hot streak. So he just, I don't see it. I don't expect him back. I'd be shocked if Ronald Jones is back in a Bucs uniform. So we'll see what happens. Never say never, but I wouldn't expect it.
Brian Shaw in the live chat, he sent 2 separate messages. The first one said Rojo is the future, and then the immediate follow-up said of another team. Leadus Production says, I don't think he's coming back next year, and I'm fine with that, but he's mad good. Our Super Bowl chances go way up if he's on. Super Bowl chances is one thing, but I think, Ronald Jones having an on day, I think he's a great running back. I still think he's a better runner than Leonard Fournette, but he just hasn't been on this season. I don't know if it's like a mental confidence thing. I just, it's not like
contract year. I mean, who knows?
Right. It seems like maybe the Bucs are definitely leaning towards Leonard Fournette being their guy for right now. So
leaning.
The opportunities for Ronald Jones haven't exactly been there, but when they have, it's not like he's really out here doing that much.
If they're leaning, they're nearly falling over. I saw it's just a trade Rojo for trade deadlines. He will not return to Bucs next year. So see, I see a lot of people say that. Okay, so what are you going to get for him?
Trading everybody is the answer.
A 6th round pick, what are you going to get? So what happens if you trade Ronald Jones and then you have a couple injuries there? Do you want Keyshawn Vaughn starting in a playoff game? I mean, that's what the depth. It's important, and that's why the Bucs are not going to be trading anybody away at the trade deadline. Like I seriously don't. I've seen a lot. Oh, trade OJ Howard, trade Ronald Jones. Why? Like, what's the point? I would understand if you were able to get a 2nd, 3rd round pick, whatever. But you're not. Like, you're not going to get that. You're going to get at most probably a 5th round pick for either one of those guys.
Right.
So why not just hang on to them, have the depth? So if an injury happens, like Rob Gronkowski, you don't have to worry about just having Cameron Brate and some random dude, right? Mm-hmm. Deion Yelder or whatever it would be. That'd be your 2 tight ends. Like, no, you want to have that depth. So that's why I don't believe they're going to be doing that at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. A lot of people are always really quick to say, like, we should trade this guy. We should trade this guy. And it's not always a realistic option. But just
well, they think, a lot of people, you overvalue your own players. So the funny thing is, though, that they want to trade a guy because they think he sucks, but at the same time, they think that, you should get a third round, second round.
Yeah,
pick
you'll
for him.
get good value for this guy.
If he sucks, then how are you going to get that for him?
Yeah. Oh, man. Taking a look at the rest of the offense, is there anything else that jumps out to you? I know we talked about the run game getting going, maybe Gio Bernard possibly showing up a little bit more. He's been getting some momentum over these past few weeks. Really good to see that from him. He got a couple of big carries against Miami. But, aside from the running game and maybe Gio Bernard getting a couple of catches, is there anything else that you're going to be looking out for?
As far as the running back room, or the
just anything on offense.
I do think Chris Godwin, it's a homecoming for Chris Godwin. He's actually from Philly, the
Penn
area.
State guy.
We'll see. I think he can have a big day. You always see, last week it was the Antonio Brown and Mike Evans show, and Chris Godwin, while he had over 70 yards, he was kind of like an afterthought. Like, you didn't really, you didn't really think about him much. You didn't come away from that game saying, wow, Chris Godwin, he dominated today.
Well, getting him in the end zone would have been nice, because I lost my fantasy matchup by that much thanks to Lamar Jackson. Holy shit. All right, let me go ahead and sidetrack here, because now I'm pissed off because I just brought it up. So Monday Night Football, Ravens and the Colts, second half. I check in at halftime to see how my fantasy matchup is doing. And I have the Colts defense and Blankenship is my kicker. Okay? My opponent, Chris Fisher, formerly from the Bucs Brief podcast, Peloton Boy now as we call him, he is 35 points behind with just Lamar Jackson left in the game. It is halftime, Evan. Halftime. 2 quarters have been played. Lamar didn't do shit. I felt great about my chances. And what does he do? Plays his best fucking career game of all time to lead this incredible comeback against Indy. I'm so pissed, dude. I'm so mad. That's the nature of my fantasy football teams this year. I've got an ESPN league, and I've got the NFL league, which is the Cannon Fire Fantasy League. Shout out to everybody in there, including Chris Fisher. But god damn it, dude, I can't ever catch a break in this league in particular, and I'm tired of it. Fantasy football makes me so mad.
I can see that. Don't ever talk to Rhett about fantasy football and Madden. Just don't do it. That's my advice. If you ever run into Rhett, don't ever bring those two up. And if you bring them up together, then you're asking for it. If you bring them up together, I won't feel bad for you.
When's the last time? Literally, I had a 2-point lead as the game went into overtime, and I was like, all right, as long as Lamar doesn't take the field, it should be okay. And then they get down into the end zone. What happens?
The game shouldn't even have gone to overtime. He should miss the kick because he was hurt.
Don't remind me. If he would have made the kick, I would have won.
If you would have made the kick, would have been done.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
I had plenty of chances. I had plenty of chances to win that fantasy matchup, but GG's. I guess. I guess I'm a respectful opponent. So Chris, if you happen to be listening to this, GG. Your team still sucks though.
Yeah. So I don't even remember what we're talking about the offense basically.
Any matchups that pop out to you, or just anything in particular you're looking forward to?
Yeah. I was talking about Chris Godwin, and that's what it was. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now we're back on track.
Man, oh man.
So yeah, obviously, we already talked about most of it, right? Leonard Fournette against the Eagles rush defense. I hope that's able to set up the play action, and I hope they're able to utilize the tight ends more against those Eagles linebackers, because a team like Dallas really, that was what, Monday Night Football. They really took it to the Eagles with their tight ends, and their linebackers had a rough game. So their secondary isn't bad. Their secondary is improved, but at the same time, there's a few levels of their defense that just aren't great. So as far as offense goes, I just think it's all about playing a clean game. The Bucs really haven't had many turnovers. I don't think they didn't have a turnover at all in New England. I don't think, right? And they didn't.
No, they did not. Bucs haven't had any offensive turnovers.
I know week 2 versus the Falcons they did, and I think that's it, because I think technically they had the fumble versus LA, but it was recovered by the Bucs. Yeah. So
I think about the 2 picks from Tom Brady in the first game.
Dude,
if he
don't even get me started on. I think about those every day.
Don't talk
every
about
single
Tom
day
Brady
of my life.
picks with Evan.
Don't do it, because every single day of my life, I just keep replaying in my mind.
This man could have 15 touchdowns and 0 picks on the air if it were
I just keep playing in my mind the ball going right through Leonard Fournette's hands and into the Cowboys defenders' hands, and then that freaking Hail Mary. Oh my God. I'm not even gonna talk about it. Not gonna do it. See, I'm like rattled now. I just no. So yeah, that's it. All right. The Bucs offense, they should have some success. Like they should. This defense is not as bad as Miami's is, right?
Yeah.
But it's a road game. I think that always, those Eagles fans, it's gonna be a packed house. Primetime game against the Super Bowl champions. The Eagles are coming off a win themselves. The chance for them to get back to 500. They're gonna be packing the energy. So I think the Bucs offense has got to find ways to shut them up.
Do you know if it's going to be a blackout game for Philly? They normally do.
I would assume so.
Time,
I would assume so. Yeah.
Do we know if the Bucs are wearing white on white or white on pewter?
They're wearing white on pewter.
Oh, very interesting. Still undefeated in that color combo. Let's not forget, folks.
Technically, the only one this season, the only one they're not undefeated in is the pewter on pewter. So,
and that's the uniform of the new ones that they have their worst record in. I'm pretty sure. Like I think they might be even. What are they, 2 for 2 in the pewter?
Yeah. Well, they lost to the Rams twice. So they're 0-2 against the Rams when they wear it.
And then they beat the Broncos.
They beat the Broncos. They beat the Falcons. So they're 2-2.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So I'll take a 500 record as long as it's not negative, but that's definitely the worst color combo we have as far as record on the field goes. But it'll be nice to see some white and pewter this week. I can't wait for them to wear red. Right?
It's coming. Halloween. It's
coming. My God. It's a road game.
Yep.
Awesome.
It's coming though.
Yeah, it's coming eventually. That's what they said about the Dragons in Game of Thrones, and we all know how that turned out.
Game of Thrones is stupid, so I
let's
don't
go
know
ahead.
how it turned out.
Let's go ahead and wrap things up just like we always do here on the Game Preview Show with Evan's weekly check. It
could be a weekly check. Yeah, it could be. Sure. Why not?
What did we call it before?
I don't know. I thought it was. That's what
it was
called.
the checklist.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and checklist this thing and then drop some final score predictions and get out of here. Evan, I will turn it over to you. Basically, we wrap things up on the Game Preview Show with a checklist, and if the Bucs do all of these things, they should come out victorious. So
they
Evan,
will come out victorious.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. If they do all 3 or 4 of these things, they will come out victorious. I guarantee it.
All right. Well, Evan, it's all yours, my friend.
So the first one, contain Jalen Hurts. I think that's just, you can't let him run wild. If there's a 3rd and 11, can't lose contain, let him pick up 12 yards. If there's a chance for him to run, he's probably going to take it. He can throw the football, but if there's a chance for him to run, he's likely going to take it. You can't let it happen. So you got to figure out a way to be able to contain him. Number 2, kind of on the other side of the ball, but protect Tom Brady. Tom Brady's not going to scramble. Tom Brady's going to,
what are you talking about, man?
I know.
He's got the highest yards per carry in the NFL right now.
I know. But, protect Tom Brady with Javon Hargrave, with Fletcher Cox coming up the middle. Just, you got to be able to protect him. And the way to really hurt Tom Brady, is his chances of succeeding is to get in front of him and not let him step into a throw. The Bucs have to do a good job of protecting him. Also, stay disciplined. The Eagles are one of the most penalized teams in the NFL. I think after week 3, the Bucs were the 2nd worst team in the league as far as penalties goes after week 3. The Eagles were 1st. So the Eagles were the team that were ahead of the Bucs. I'm not sure what they are now, but they're still up there. The penalties have been a huge issue, but they've also still been an issue for the Bucs. So got to be able to clean those up. And then 4, we talked about it. I just said wrap up. Just make sure you're able to tackle. If you have a chance to sack Jalen Hurts, sack him. If you have a chance to tackle Jalen Reagor or Devonta Smith before the first down marker. Don't let a 5-yard screen pass turn into a 15-yard game. That's what's going to get you in trouble this game. They have to be able to tackle well, and I'm not sure if they can do it because they haven't proven it like at all this season. Like this entire season, it's been an issue so far. Even in the preseason, it was an issue. So really hope they're able to do it. I have my doubts if they're going to, but I think it's key for them to be able to come out with a victory.
For sure. If there's one more thing I need to add to that is take advantage of the red zone chances you're going to get. We talked about this not being the best matchup for Tampa Bay's offense, so you weren't entirely sure how many times you're actually going to get down into the red zone. And some of the things that they have struggled with this season, missing Gronk is going to do this, but, scoring in the red zone every single time. If this offense gets going and I'm wrong and I eat these words, that's awesome. But I do not think it's going to be, a 45-17 final score. I think the Eagles are definitely going to keep it a little bit closer. They're going to be in this game until the fourth quarter. So if you don't have that many opportunities on offense and you're kind of just chewing clock and getting down to the end zone when you can, take advantage, get the 7 points and move on, do your thing. But you always want to take advantage when you're in the red zone. So hiring that red zone percentage, the scoring percentage is always good. And I think that's going to be a pretty focal point for this offense headed into this game against Philly. But let's do some final score predictions, man. Some people said that you're in the hot seat this week. This is, technically home turf for you. I think we have confirmed here on the show that you may or may not be a closet Eagles fan. Is that true? Do you care to comment?
Cannot confirm or deny the reports.
So I'm curious to hear your take. I think we both can agree that it's going to be a little more competitive than it was against Miami. I still have the Bucs coming out on top, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game. I really think Philly's going to come out here with a lot of energy. If this was in Tampa, I'd feel much better about the Bucs' chances, right? Philly's going to come out with a lot of energy. They're doing their blackout game. I think it's their first one of the season, right? That always seems to get people riled up. That Philly crowd is going to be loud.
They're going to throw twice as many batteries this week. Santa Claus better not make an appearance.
I don't think he will. So
some people get crazy about the holidays, dude. I've delivered to a couple of houses that have their Christmas decorations up already.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, can we get to Halloween first? I mean, come on. My rule of thumb is basically after Thanksgiving, go wild. But maybe a few days before Thanksgiving, you want to put something up, whatever. But like, even for Halloween, like, come on. Anyways, back to the game. The matchup, not even like, forget about the crowd, right? The crowd's another thing. It's a tough road game. The matchup is just not great for Tampa. The Eagles have a good interior defensive line. They have a quarterback that's going to get the ball out quick. They have a quarterback that can run. They have wide receivers that are kind of tough to bring down. The Bucs have corners and linebackers that have trouble tackling. It's not a great matchup. It really isn't. And I think this game's close. But I think the Bucs are better. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Bucs are the better football team. Like, I'm not saying that the Eagles are better. But also I think the Eagles are a bit better than their 2-3 record shows. They could have beaten the 49ers. They whooped the Falcons, and they beat the Panthers last week. Tough game on the road. But I think they're going to want to come out and get a win on the road. I mean, but Philly's going to want to defend home turf. There's a chance for Philly to get back to 500. There's also a chance for the Bucs to really make another win streak going, right? Get 3 going. And I'm going to pick the better team. So I'm going to say 31-27 Bucs. I think it's going to be a nail biter. I think the Bucs are the better team. I think they'll come out with the win, but I don't think it'll be easy.
I think this game will be much more competitive than Miami. I mean, most of the games this season are going to be a lot more competitive than that was. So I think this one's competitive. Down the stretch, I'm not so sure, but I think a good 2.5, 3 quarters of this game are going to be pretty close. It's going to be score after score. But I have the Bucs taking it the distance. Big shock here, right? But I'm picking Tampa Bay 34-24 in a 10-point game. I think Ryan Suckup does his thing, and that's going to kind of like keep them away from Philly for most of the game, right? Just that extra field goal that always feels good to have at the very end of the game. but I have the Bucs winning. Man, the chat hates you right now, apparently. Russ says you're killing his buzz here with your BS. We're the champs. Respect the name.
Did I pick them to lose?
It's the bias. It's the Philly bias. Listen, we all know. We all know.
I'm gonna be either way. I'm gonna be heartbroken if the Eagles lose. I may not show up for the review.
He might not do the show. We might lose him for another week.
Yeah, I might I'll see you for Chicago. I'm not doing that. I can't. If the Eagles come on, if the Eagles win, I'll be on. But if the Eagles lose, I won't be able to.
Evan, I think your sarcasm is like my favorite part about you because
everybody takes it so seriously.
Nobody picks it up ever.
No,
ever.
No. Well, I mean, am I being sarcastic though? Like, you have to tune in. You have to tune in for the review show tomorrow night to find out if I'm there or not. So.
He's gonna be crying, just tissues. He's a mess.
That's why I might not show up. I can't. How am I supposed to look like that on the podcast? How am I supposed to look like that? I mean, come on, man.
Hey, one more bit of news that I forgot to mention at the top of the show that I want to wrap up with. My prediction came true. It wasn't that much of a hot take, but Tom Brady was named NFC Offensive Player of the Week following his 5-touchdown performance against the Miami Dolphins. So with a busted thumb and all, Tom Brady is still just bringing in the accolades. So very curious.
I think he's good. I think
so. Somebody said something about this 44-year-old guy being washed and like not being able to keep up with the league. Might have been you. I mean,
maybe that's the Philly part of me, right? I mean, everybody in Philly just hates Tom Brady. Like, you would think like I get people.
Everybody
like
everywhere but Tampa Bay and New England hates Tom Brady.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I guess, but like it seems like for some reason like Philly like. They don't play Tom Brady a lot. Like I know, like they lost the Super Bowl to Tom Brady, but then they beat Tom Brady. Like why? I don't know. Whatever. Whatever.
People are weird. But ladies and gentlemen, that's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you so much to our live people on YouTube for checking in. Brian Shaw, Richard Taraka. I always feel like I say that incorrectly, but Richard T hanging out with us. Lil Ralphie, Dante Holmes, Russ, TB12 Goatman, some of the regulars, Tall FL Guy, Mr. Bucs Nation, DePazio, and anybody else that I may have missed. Thank you guys for checking us out. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Plenty of great Buccaneers content between now and the entire season. And it's more than just the podcast, too. We have got plenty of great series that you guys can check out, some weekly hype videos that we like to do every now and again. So get on it and subscribe for some great Red and Pewter content.
Yeah, real quick to answer Richard's question before we head out. It's interesting. It says, does Philly fans hate the Bucs as much as the Bucs fans hate the Eagles? No.
I don't think it's been as heated these past few years just because
No, but like I still have Eagles fans like talk to me about because like most people believe that in 2002 that was the Eagles' best chance to go to the Super Bowl and win it. Even though they went to the Super Bowl 2 years after that, right, and lost, most people believe that was the best team. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes the best team, doesn't win. Sometimes
99 Bucs.
That's what I'm thinking. It's close. What team's better, 99 or 2002? Yeah. I still believe the 1999 defense is the best Bucs defense of all time. I think that defense was better than the 2002 defense. But so a lot of Philly fans hold the Bucs in that. You hear two names when you talk. Yeah, Rondé Barber and Joe Jurevicius. Those are the two names that Eagles fans hate to hear. But they won it in 2017, but they were starving for a championship at that point. So like just because you won it in 2017 doesn't mean that and Tall FL Guy says I hate the Saints more than the Eagles. Well, you should.
That rivalry is definitely alive and well.
The Eagles hate the Cowboys more than they hate the Bucs. So.
I'll tell you one more thing about Eagles fans that always makes me laugh is that, like, if there is a Bucs fan within 5 square miles of where they are and they talk about their stadium in any capacity, come on, dude. You're telling me someone's not going to chime in with Bucs shut down the vet? That's like my favorite thing to talk about. Whenever I find out somebody's an Eagles fan, I always bring up the Bucs shutting down the vet. So
why you gotta bring that up to me then? You know how sensitive I am.
Oh, come on, man. Hey, Willie Beeman. The moderator holding
Willie
it down.
Beeman, he's an Eagles fan with me.
Oh,
he's a fellow. Go Birds.
Oh my good God. Well, with that, let's go ahead and actually wrap this thing up.
We end the show by saying go Birds.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Go
like
Bucs.
I was
How about
saying,
that?
like I was saying before the Philly fan interrupted me.
The jersey color is white on pewter. So
okay.
Anybody wondering?
Beautiful. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show, and of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Bucs news as it happens, you can follow my co-host on Instagram at Bucs_daily. Speaking of dirty birds, man. You can also find him on Twitter at EvanNFL, where he will not follow you back and consistently tweets about the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know what it is about this guy.
No, that's not the Eagles. It's Philly team. So
Yeah. Willie says the Eagles are going to be cooked on Thursday. They're in a complete rebuild, and the linebackers are trash.
Willie, come on, man. Support the home team.
Jeez. Oh, man. Last but not least, follow myself, Instagram and Twitter at Rhettakus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. Thanks again to everybody for hanging out with us live here tonight for episode 213. We're going to be live on YouTube tomorrow, shortly after the conclusion of Thursday Night Football. I'd say maybe 15, 20 minutes after the game. We'll be jumping right here, youtube.com/CannonFire Podcast. If you subscribe, you should get notified, and you'll be among the first people in the live stream as we get things rolling. So we'll talk to you guys then. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew, signing off for my co-host, Evan Wanish. And until next time, and as always, go Bucs.